Hey everyone, I'm Dean Blade and thanks for clicking on this video. For the 5 of you that randomly saw this pop up in your subscriptions, yeah, it's me, the guy that haphazardly uploaded Pokemon content a decade ago. No, I'm not dead, and honestly I'm doing quite well. Thank you for never clearing out your old YouTube subscriptions. For those who are watching me for the first time, I hope I can keep you around for a few videos at the very least, and maybe even convince you to subscribe to me for future content. As some of you may know from my previous videos, I'm a fan of the Pokemon games, mainly the competitive side of things such as Smogon singles and VGC formats. I've been into team building and jank Pokemon as far back as I can remember. However, there is one game that has been interesting me more and more recently. That game is Yu-Gi-Oh! I've always been a casual fan of the card game, whether it's dabbling in it with my friends in the early 20-teens, or just looking at the cool vanilla monsters and their attack stats when I was a kid. I had never tried to learn the competitive side of the game due to being enveloped in Pokemon, League of Legends, school, work, you name it. That changed 2 years ago with the release of Master Duel. This is the first time that there is a cheap and Konami approved way to try out the game. For the small price of absolutely free, I played the game on my off time, completing my daily missions for sweet little gemmies, while throwing my terrible self-crafted beast deck at the ranked wall until I got a few wins. Eventually, this got frustrating because I realized I had no idea what I was doing. It felt like I was just hitting the find match button until I got paired up against a coughing baby. I took a few months off from the game and came back to rationalize that was exactly what I was doing. I wasn't trying to improve at the game, I just wanted to get my gems and use my favorite bad cards. It was after this realization that I started Yu-Gi-Oh! Content consumption and learning how the game worked. Fast forward a few months, and I find out one of my old Pokemon friends used to play the TCG and played at regionals many times. He recommended I try it out, so I gave it a whirl. I ordered some cards and pulled up to my first locals a year ago with Magnet Warrior at Emancipator. I was expecting to get absolutely clapped and not win a single game, but I surprised myself and went 1-1-2. This isn't the best score, but for a beginner, it was pretty solid. I instantly fell in love with playing the game in person and met some cool people. Alright, if you stuck with me this far, you're probably wondering, okay dude, that's cool, but what's the point of the video? Ask and you shall receive. If you didn't ask, too bad, I'm telling you anyway. Over the past year, I've been going to both Wednesday and Saturday locals pretty consistently. I quickly learned that several strong players will show up and kick my ass regularly. They've gone to plenty of regionals and topped multiple times, getting national invites in the process. In short, if I didn't get better at the game, I would end up in the same situation that I was when I was playing Master Duel. I started grinding more and learning meta decks and how to beat them. Every now and then I would actually top locals, which was a huge win for me. It felt great to know that I could actually win if I put in the effort. This inspired me to make this video and start a series on my journey to becoming a better player. This is part 1 in a video series I will be making to document my performance in the TCG. The goal is to identify my strengths and weaknesses as a player and ultimately learn and improve after analyzing my matches. Although my wants are for my own benefit, I welcome you all to join me for the ride, and maybe you'll find it entertaining or helpful if you're someone like me. Like I said before, I go to locals Wednesdays and Saturdays. I'm not sure what the exact schedule will be, but I plan on doing a recap of the tournaments once a week. Note that this is all subject to change based on life or other events that may take place. Each episode will include the decks I played, including a short profile, what my matchups were, what actually happened, things I did well, and things I can improve on. On March 17th, I'll be attending my first regional in Omaha, so be on the lookout for my recap video on the event. If any of you end up enjoying the series, feel free to leave me suggestions in the comments. With all that said and done, let's end the first episode with the deck I've been playing and its performance. Alright, so as a disclaimer, this part is not going to be scripted, so if I mess up, oops. Regardless, let's get into the profile. So I've actually been playing Goaty Sprite. I'm really surprised that when Goaty was first around that nobody actually really can even consider this. I never saw it like online anywhere. It actually works pretty well in my opinion. I actually used this a while ago before even the Phantom Nightmare support cards came out, and it performed decently well. And that was even when I was worse at deck building than I am now. So it probably could have even been better at the time. But anyway, I've been using this version of the deck for the last week or so. It's pretty good, like surprisingly solid. The Phantom Nightmare cards do a lot for the deck, and there's a lot of combos that you can play through, like 1, even 2, even sometimes 3 hand traps if you have like a really good hand. And it sets up pretty good points of interaction, and you have a decent amount of space for non-engine. So let's get right into the deck profile, I guess. Okay, so first we're going to start off with the most broken fish card in the game. We got 3 lifeless leaf fish. This card is just absolutely insane. It's a normal summon, or on special summon even, if you get Paces. You can just mill a fish from deck to grave. So the normal goatee thing to do is to send Shift, but one thing that people might not even consider is that since we're playing Sprite, there's another level 2 fish monster that has an effect when sent to the deck to the grave, and that's Nibble Angler. So you can actually pitch Nibble Angler off the leaf fish and just start spamming out 2s like crazy. And I can get into one of the combos later on after all the cards come out, but for now let's keep it going. So for the fish tuners, we're playing 2 Shift, 1 Paces, 1 Zep. 2 Shift is pretty important. Shift plus a level 2 extender is like a full board. Like barring the fact that they don't have anything on summon for the Shift, but people right now aren't really playing things that stop normal summons outside of like Veiler and Imperm, but that's obviously not a problem for the Shift. It's just there to have the level 2 body on board. Pacey is just a one-of because it's not that bad when you draw it with another fish, but we're playing Sprite cards, and so if you draw Paces and like any other Sprite cards, it's no better than any other level 2 fish in your deck. And so it's just another tuner to recycle back every turn. Zep is a pretty important engine piece that lets you synchro climb on your opponent's turn, very necessary. Alright, let's get into 2 more little pieces. 1 Snopios, 1 Sykes. These are like 2 almost non-negotiable engine pieces. Snopios lets you recur your resource loop every turn. Sykes lets you get... It keeps your resource loop going and gives you an extra big body on the board. So you don't necessarily need him, but he's an extra plus, and to his add, you can add another leaf fish for next turn, maybe like a turn 3 or a turn 4 situation where it can just absolutely close out the game. And he's another level 6 body for making synchros if you need to. Okay, here is the best addition for this deck in Phantom Nightmare. This is 3 Keef, Merc of the Goatee. This card is literally just a Sprite card. So if you control a fish, you can just special summon it like a Sprite card. The only downside is it is an effect, not an inherent summon, so if they have like an Appaloosa or something, they can negate it. But either way, if they negate it, then that's -1 negate for them, and then you have other cards in your hand to play further. This also, if you have these 2 cards, this insulates the... You can actually safely normal summon the leaf fish like as your starting play, so if they Imperm or Veiler or Ash or something, you can still extend with Keef and then go into a sprint later because he's level 2. Not to mention the fact that his effect to banish an opponent's special summon monster is also very insane, and it lets you recycle your banished fish, so if they get stuck there, or if you want to recycle your Arion post without having to synchro summon him for a second time, you can easily do that. Alright, and now we have some Nimble cards. We got 2 Anglers and 3 Sunfish. These cards are also very important. You like, 1 Angler like can do it, but 2 is very, very good for the deck because Leaf Fish actually has a secondary effect. So when it's in the grave, you can banish it, target 3 fish, shuffle back, and draw 1. The Leaf Fish banish effect lets you reshuffle your Anglers and your Sunfish, so you can pitch Angler like multiple times in 1 turn. It lets you turbo out like crazy. Nimble Sunfish is also like the best target for the Angler by far, at least in this deck. It's a fish, so it lets you banish stuff for your Goatee cards if you run out of Goatee cards to actually banish, so you don't end your resource loop prematurely. Because sometimes you get in an awkward situation where you don't have the right cards. I mean, this might be an error on my part, but if you run out of fish in your grave, your resource loop can be stuck. And so like having the grave loaded up with extra Anglers and Sunfish is really nice to have the potential banish if you need it. And another thing about Sunfish, it's really good. It has this effect to where if it's destroyed by battle, you can send a fish from deck to grave to special summon another sunfish. So if you're going second and you open a sunfish, which I always do, I even open like 2 sunfish like a lot, and it's still like it's just fine. Because if they have anything in attack position, you can normal summon your sunfish and then crash it in, and then in the damage step it'll send and then special, so unless they get activation they can't stop it. And so what you can do is you can either send a shift to get it in the grave, or you can send another angler. And so this sunfish will crash, essentially die. It will pitch the angler and summon another sunfish, and then the other angler will pop and then get you another sunfish. So it like fills your grave, and it can also get a bunch of bodies on board, and it's really nice. So if you only draw like a sunfish, and if you have like hand traps and they're playing with a neutered board, you can kind of just take advantage and then set up for their turn 3, and just make it so they can't play the game. In turn 4 you easily just close it out. Okay, so now we've gone through all the fish. We'll go into the sprite cards. We have 3 blue, obviously. Insane card, lets you add free body. Not much to say about that. 1 jet, I thought about playing more than 1, so you get the adds later on if you are playing more of a grind game, but it's not necessary because you have the goatee cards for the grind. But 2 might be nice. I'm still like playing around with the ratios a little bit, so it might get added in later. 1 carrot, 1 red. Spell trap, monster negates, super necessary, nothing to say there. And now, with the new ban list update, we have 3 starters. This card is crazy. So, if you guys have played against Sprite before, or played with it, you know that this card is insane. It went from 2 to 3 on the most recent ban list, and in addition to Keef, it provides insulation to a normal summon leaf fish, and you can use it to bait out hand traps with your opponent, and then once they've used all their interaction, you can just go starter and just go crazy and full combo them anyway. So, like a sunfish plus a Keef or a starter is just huge insulation. You need like 3 hand traps to end your turn. Alright, now we'll go 1 smashers. I originally had double cross, but when I was going second, I'd open double cross way too much. Double cross is pretty good right now because if they have a flamberge or a low or something, you can target the flamberge, target the low, target their Promethean princess, and just scoop it up, and it's no longer in their possession, so you can just hold on to it until they get rid of it on your field. And so it like forces like 1, maybe 2 more interactions than they would need to use. It's also a searchable out for flood. Well, smashers anyway is a searchable out to floodgates. It's also the banish effect. You only have to banish a sprite from your grave, and then a level 2, rank 2, link 2 from your field. You can also banish your goatee cards, and then they'll come back next turn. So it's like free cost essentially, and it gets them cycled back. But double cross is really good. It's just I was seeing it way too much going second that I felt I'd put smashers in the main deck, and I'd move double cross to the side, so I can only set it in when I'm going first. And here we have non-engine, so we'll start off by going here. I'm running 3 crossout. Crossout's really good in this deck because although you don't lose to 1, 2 of very popular hand traps right now can be annoying, and it can end your turn if your hand isn't crazy. And also, this card, with the goatee cards, is just an extender. If you're going first, and you open a double cross and you don't need to use it to stop a hand trap, you can go to the end phase, use double cross out in the end phase, and just call either Shift or Paces or Keef. And then it'll banish them for the turn, and then next standby phase they'll come back because their effects won't be negated anymore. So even when you draw this card and they don't use hand traps, it's not a dead card. And also, if you end on a board where you want your Arion post to resolve, you can just set it to be immune to imperm for the next turn. First we have 3 Ash, really good card. Some people aren't running it right now because they're afraid of Hita. I think the benefits of Ash definitely outweigh the risks. So I'm just running it, and also you never know when you're going to run into some random dude's deck and you just drop an Ash Blossom and they have to pass turn. So it's pretty good, pretty generic. I like it, and it's a cross-out target. Next we have 3 Veiler. This card is absolutely insane right now. Every time I draw it, I feel so safe. Even when you go first, just making like a board with like 3, 4, 5 interactions, then you have the extra Veiler in hand. It's really hard to play through sometimes. That's just really good. I like it. I like it because it has benefits and cons versus imperm. The benefits is like I can just keep it in my hand, so if they have like Duster or something, they can't wipe an imperm. They can wipe an imperm off my board, but they can't get rid of the Veiler because it'll just be in my hand. But obviously, you can't use it. You can't use it on your turn, so just be wary of that. Next we have 1 Nib in the main. This is just a cross-out target, and it's just a generically good card to have. Going first, it's kind of like risky to have, in my opinion, it's kind of risky to have 3 because you never know what the matchup's going to be. And some people will respect Nib when they're playing game 1. So mainly it's just a defensive inclusion in the deck, but it does come up sometimes where you just open it and you're like, okay, well, I'm glad I have this Nib in my hand. This slot was Droll previously, but Droll isn't, I don't think Droll's good at all right now. Best case scenario, Droll will maybe cut off 1 Surge, but they'll still be able to play through it anyway. And Droll doesn't really impact you that much. So there's no reason to have it as a cross-out target because you just let them waste the interaction and you just keep playing. Also, one thing to note is that even though I am playing Sprite, there are lines where you get summoned 5 times before you reach a Gigantic to like set up an optimal board. So if you draw the cross out and you know you have this in your deck, you're pretty safe from that because they'll be, if they have Nib and they see you playing Sprite, as soon as you summon Gigantic Sprite, they're going to drop the Nib. So it's an important thing to keep in there. And then we have, of course, 3 Imperm. Cards are really good. Snake Eyes everywhere, hits Diabellstar, hits Ash, hits all that stuff. It's just generically good card. Normally it is kind of low impact, but right now it feels like a pretty high impact card. Just negating a monster effect on summon is really strong right now. So it comes up all the time. It's, again, another cross-out target, and it just does so well. So that's the main deck. Solid 40 cards. Oh, it works really well. I like it a lot. Let's go into the extra deck here. We'll start off with the Synchros and the Fish. So we got 2 Arion Posts. It's the main combo opener for your Goaty stuff. Play 2. There are some Kashtira running around. Unicorn, you don't want it banishing your 1 Arion Post. It's really good, and there are times when you actually need to go into 2 on like turn 3 or 4, because the other one will get banished or destroyed or something, so it's nice to have 2. Really good card. You have 1 Ascan. I know a lot of people are playing 2, but I think 1 is all you need. I think if they burn all their interaction to get rid of Ascan, they're kind of wasting their interaction, and you can just go into other cards instead. And this card recurs itself if it gets banished, and so if you just stay mindful of where it is, and if you use its effect this turn, it's always going to be online. Next we have 1 White Aura Whale. This card actually comes up a lot, and it's really good. It's Lightning Vortex essentially on summon. You have to make sure though, when you go to Synchro Summon it, it's going to be on chain 1 because it can actually miss timing here. So you have to make sure it's the first thing that happens in the chain. When you actually activate its on summon effect, it can be anywhere though. So it's fine. And if it gets destroyed by battle or card effects, so it has that protection too. A lot of things are destroying right now as their primary forms of removal. You can banish a fish from your grave and special summon it as a tuner, and that's not once per turn. So if you get in a weird situation where you have a bunch of Goaty stuff in grave, but you can't manage to get banish them, you can go into your White Aura Whale and then bait destruction, so you can, or force destruction or interaction rather, and so you can special summon and bring it back and load your fish back into the banish zone. It's really good. We only play 1 Deep Beyond. Really insane card. If you pull it off, you usually win the game. Some people play 2. I don't think 2 is necessary, although it can come up. I think that if you already pulled off 1 and you're going into another level 10 synchro, there are better options that will seal the game off for you. Because once you've hit his effect, you don't need any more offense. You just need to like basically guard your victory until you seal the deal. And, yeah, he's really good. But you only need one. For more level 10s, we have Changing and Barone. Barone, self-explanatory, insane card. Super generic and splashable. Changing, on the other hand, is essentially just another Goatee card. Unfortunately, it's not a fish, so you can't synchro summon it on your opponent's turn, but it lets you, if it would be destroyed, a lot of things are destroying right now, which is insane for the card. You can banish something from your grave to prevent the destruction, so like with White Aura Will, you can banish the Goatee and cycle your fish back. And so it's crazy right now. And its banish is also non-target. So with and it hits the field and grave as well, non-target. So with Voiceless running around, they're not immune to it. It came up literally on Saturday that I had a Changing and it just soloed a Voiceless Voice player. Like, he had to go through so much to go to Unicorn to bounce it back, and then I had White Aura Whale and I just made him yin. And then he had no resources. I banished all his lows, I banished his Skull Guardians, like he just couldn't do anything, and he had 5,000 attack, so he couldn't even beat over it if he had a Skull Guardian up. Insane card right now, I think. The next cards, got one Typhon. If you open a shitty hand and they have a lot of like big monster negates, not necessarily for like Fire King Snake Eye right now, but it comes up in like a rogue matchup sometimes where they put like Baron, Dissipator, all that synchro BS on the board going first. Typhon can really help you get through that board. And Typhon can be replaced with something, but I just haven't found what I want to replace it with yet. For the sprites, 2 Gigantic, 2 Sprint. This is absolutely necessary. I wouldn't play one of these, I would always play 2. So the good thing about the sprite cards with this deck is that they chew through interaction for your opponent and like pave the way for your Goatee cards to actually close out the game. And so a lot of times the first Gigantic and the first Sprint you have will not stay in the field very long. They'll 8 interaction, and then the following turn that you have, you can go into your second copy and really steal the deal. The 2 Sprint also is super good because with Leafish you can shuffle back the Angler and just basically do Sprint again and do your whole turn 1 again. So that's really important to have 2 of each. Next we have IP. Really good. Link 2, so even after Gigantic uses effect or use a starter, you can still go into it, set up for next turn. SP, self-explanatory, insane card. Will get hit at some point, I don't know when. And then another thing that I'm running here is that not a lot of people are running at the moment is Avermax. I feel like Avermax is absolutely crazy right now, and not a lot of people have outs for this card at the moment, especially if it's made with IP into Avermax, and it can't be destroyed or targeted, and it can't be run over in battle. So the only way they have to get rid of this card is Underworld Goddess. And there sometimes is cases where they don't have the materials on board to actually go into that, as if you have like hand traps or like set interactions like Smashers or Double Cross, they can't do anything about this card. It absolutely solos all rogue matchups that you run into. Really good. The only way, like I said, to get rid of it is the Underworld Goddess and like talents. The talents you can protect with like a carrot or something, or you can just play around it and not activate any effects. But yeah, the card has gotten me wins that would have been a lot harder if I didn't have him, and it was just free win essentially. Alright, so now we'll go into the side. I'm going to be pretty brief on the side because it's something that changes the fastest based on where you're playing, and literally like what day of the week it is, your side might change. I have 3 Ghost Spell here, 3 Crow, 2 more Nib to give me a playset. I have 2 Droll just in case like a rogue matchup comes up. 2 Talents, 2 Cosmic, and then the Double Cross. The Double Cross I already went to before. DD Crow is really good. It pretty much solidifies the Voiceless matchup in your favor if you just get rid of the low before it summons back to get the Omni Negate online for the Skull Guardian. Ghost Spell is really good. It's pretty generic. It can be played around a lot, but at the same time, if you resolve it, it's pretty high impact. You can hit the Promethean Princess, or you can hit Flamberge sometimes. They can chain block Flamberge, but it's nice to have. Also, you can Ghost Spell the low if it's in the grave when they go to summon it back. Nib is insane right now when you pair it with other hand traps, and I got space for it, so if I'm going second, I'll take out the crossouts, put Nib, and put maybe some other interaction in there. Cosmic Cyclone, just a pretty solid card right now. It hits Floodgates. I know a lot of people are playing Summon Limit right now. Turn 3, it's really good. It hits that. And then it's just the deck doesn't really have much spell and trap removal outside of Smasher, so it's nice to kind of like supplement that area of the deck that I have. Talents is really good if you know they're on a deck where they're going to use a monster effect in your main phase. It's pretty much an auto side in. Going second, going first, I'd rather have the crossouts to just basically solidify my board. But yeah, that's the profile. It's really cool. I hope you guys enjoy it and actually think about it. This deck actually performs way better than I ever thought it would, and I recommend giving it a shot and seeing how it goes. With this deck, I actually did top like 3 locals in a row, and that's all with Snake Eye and Voiceless and like really good players of the locals. The locals is super competitive, and so me being a player who's only played TCG for a year, I was really surprised at the performance of this deck, even when I was just misplaying. Like there was the last look, I lost only 1 game, and it was to Fire Kings, and it was because I literally just misplayed like 3 times in the match, and I could have won that game, but yeah, obviously I just messed up. But that'll be all. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile and the start of the series. I will try to be consistent about this because I actually do want to get passionate about the game. Well, I am passionate about the game, but I want to get more into it and commit myself more to it. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think, and good luck in your duels.